Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes the only way to truly live is to let a part of you die. Not in the physical sense, but the version of you that has been carrying pain, excuses, and self-imposed limits for far too long. You must burn away the old identity, the one shaped by fear, validation seeking, and the weight of other people's opinions, so that a stronger, wiser, unstoppable version of you can rise from the ashes. This is not a journey where you will have applause or companions. It is a solitary path, a battle fought in silence. In the stillness, you will tear down the walls of who you used to be and lay each brick for the person you are meant to become. Number 1. Accept the death of your old self. Before you can step into the life you dream of, you must accept that a part of you will not be coming along. This is perhaps the most difficult truth to embrace because it requires you to look directly at yourself. Not the curated version you show to the world, but the raw, unfiltered reality of who you are today. That version has been built over years, shaped by habits, fears, excuses, and compromises. It's the you that hesitated when opportunity knocked. It's the you that accepted less than you deserved because it felt safe. It's the you that believed comfort was more valuable than growth. This version is familiar, but familiarity is not freedom. It's a cage disguised as a home. The death of your old self is not a gentle process. It is not a quiet transformation where you simply decide to change and everything falls into place. No, it is a tearing apart, a conscious destruction of the identities, patterns, and attachments that no longer serve you. You will feel grief because you are saying goodbye to a self you have known for a long time. But remember this, you cannot cling to the shore and sail into the open sea at the same time. You must let go. This acceptance requires brutal honesty. You must name your weaknesses without sugarcoating them. You must admit where fear has dictated your choices. You must acknowledge the times you sabotaged yourself because deep down you did not believe you were worthy of more. This is not about shame. It is about clarity. You cannot kill what you refuse to see. And once you see it, you can dismantle it piece by piece. When you truly accept the death of your old self, something remarkable happens. The weight lifts. You stop defending the past version of you and begin to prepare for the one you are becoming. There is power in saying that was me, but it is no longer who I am. It creates space for discipline, for courage, for a new identity built on strength instead of fear. This is the first and most essential step because the old you cannot survive where you are going. The path ahead demands a different person entirely. And the sooner you let that old self rest, the sooner you can begin to live. Number 2, embrace isolation as a furnace. When you destroy the old version of yourself, you will notice something unsettling. The world around you will suddenly feel empty. People you once spent time with will seem distant. Conversations will no longer interest you the way they did before. You might even feel like a stranger in your own life. This is not a sign that you are broken. It is a sign that you are entering the furnace of isolation. And this is where your new self will be forged. Most people fear being alone because they associate it with loneliness. But solitude is not loneliness, it is a crucible. It is a space where distractions burn away and you are left face to face with yourself. This is where the noise stops and the truth begins to speak. In the silence, you will start to see who you really are without the influence of others, without their expectations, without the constant need to fit in. And what you discover there can either scare you or set you free. When you embrace isolation, you gain the ability to think clearly, to feel deeply, and to rebuild your foundation without interference. You stop living reactively and begin living intentionally. You are no longer swayed by every opinion, trend, or demand for your attention. In this furnace, the weak parts of your character, the ones that relied on others for validation, begin to melt away, and in their place, a solid core is formed. But this is not an easy stage. The heat of the furnace can be uncomfortable. There will be days you crave company just to escape the weight of your own thoughts. There will be moments you question whether this path is worth it. And yet, those who endure the discomfort emerge unrecognizable, stronger, sharper, unshakable. You must understand no one becomes unbreakable while being constantly surrounded and comforted. Growth demands a period of separation. Just as a sword is not shaped in the open air but in fire, your new self will not be created in the crowd but in the stillness of your own presence. So do not fear this isolation. Step into it willingly. Treat it not as a prison, but as the sacred workshop where the strongest version of you will be made. Number 3, cut away the poison. When you step into the furnace of isolation, the truth about your life becomes impossible to ignore. You start to see the patterns clearly, not just in yourself, but in the people and environments around you. Some of these connections have been slowly poisoning you drip by drip, year after year. And now that you are rebuilding yourself, they can no longer remain. This is the stage where you must be ruthless. The poison comes in many forms. It might be the friend who constantly doubts you, disguising their criticism as concern. It might be the family member who insists you play small, so you don't outgrow them. It might be the habits you return to when you're tired or stressed, the scrolling, the drinking, the late-night distractions that drain your willpower. Or it might be the way you speak to yourself, repeating old narratives that keep you trapped. Poison is anything that weakens your resolve, clouds your clarity, or keeps you tied to the person you're trying to leave behind. Cutting it away is not about hatred, it's about survival. You cannot heal in the same environment that made you sick. You cannot grow while still watering the weeds. This will hurt because many of these poisons are wrapped in comfort. They are familiar, and familiarity often feels like safety. But you must remind yourself comfort is not the same as nourishment. Some things feel good to keep but are slowly killing you. When you remove these toxins, you create a clean space for the new version of you to breathe. It might feel empty at first, like stripping a garden bare, but emptiness is the starting point of all creation. Once the poison is gone, your energy begins to rise, your thoughts become sharper. You find that you have more time, more focus, more power than you realized. This step demands courage because it is irreversible. Once you cut, you do not go back. But that is the point. You are building a life where the old poisons have no place. Every toxic bond you sever, every destructive habit you end is another brick removed from the prison walls. Soon there will be nothing left to contain you, and you will be free to grow without limit. Number 4, rewrite your inner story. Once the poison is gone and the noise of the world is silenced by isolation, you are left with something raw and unfiltered, your own voice. For many, this is the hardest part because that voice has not always been kind. It has been shaped by years of experiences, failures, and the words of others. It has told you who you are, what you can achieve, and what you should fear. But here's the truth. Most people never face the story you tell yourself becomes the life you live. And if your inner story is built on limits, then your life will always stay small. Rewriting your inner story is not about denying your past. It is about reframing it. Every setback you've endured, every betrayal you've suffered, every moment you fell short, these do not define you unless you choose to see them as proof of your weakness. You can just as easily choose to see them as proof of your resilience as the very fire that shaped your strength. The same facts remain, but the meaning changes, and meaning is everything. This process starts with awareness. Listen to how you speak to yourself when you make a mistake. Do you say, "I'm hopeless," or do you say, "I'll learn and adapt"? Listen to what you think when opportunities appear. Do you say, "That's not for someone like me," or "This is my chance"? Every word you whisper internally becomes a brick in the foundation of your new self. Choose those bricks wisely. Changing your inner story also means deciding who the main character is. Too often people write themselves as the victim, the background figure, or the one waiting for rescue. Your new story must put you at the center as the one who takes action, who faces challenges, who transforms. This is not arrogance, it is ownership. No one else can write your life for you. And if you don't take the pen, someone else will. As you rewrite, speak your new story out loud. Affirm it daily. Let it replace the old script until there is no trace of the former voice. And remember the old. You will try to make a comeback whispering the same tired lines. But now you know the truth. Those lines were never reality, only a story. And you are the author. Now number 5. Build ruthless self-discipline. Once your inner story has been rewritten, the next challenge is turning that story into reality. So, this is where most people fail. Not because they lack vision, but because they lack discipline. A new identity is not created in your mind alone. It is built through relentless, consistent action. Without discipline, your transformation will remain an idea instead of a life. Ruthless self-discipline means you no longer negotiate with yourself. You set a standard and you hold to it regardless of mood, circumstance, or convenience. It means you show up for your goals every single day, not when you feel like it, not when it's easy, but always. There will be days you wake up tired, discouraged, or tempted to slip back into old habits. On those days, discipline becomes your backbone. You act because it is who you are now, not because it is comfortable. To build this level of discipline, you must strip away excuses before they have the chance to take root. If you say you will train at dawn, you train at dawn. If you commit to learning a skill, you practice it daily. If you decide to save money, you cut unnecessary spending without hesitation. Your word to yourself becomes law, and when you keep your word, you build trust in your own strength, the kind of trust that cannot be broken by doubt or external pressure. But ruthless discipline is not about punishing yourself. It is about creating an environment where success is inevitable. You design your day so that the right actions are easier and the wrong ones are harder. You remove temptations before they tempt you. You track your progress and celebrate the small victories along the way, not for vanity, but to reinforce your new identity. Every disciplined choice is a vote for the person you are becoming. The truth is, discipline is freedom in disguise. Most people think freedom means doing whatever you want whenever you want. But that kind of freedom leads to chaos. Real freedom is the ability to control yourself so completely that nothing external can control you. Discipline is the armor that protects your new self from slipping back into the old. Without it, the old you will wait patiently for the day you let your guard down and it will return with it. The old you will never have a way back in. Number 6. Face your deepest flaws without mercy. Transformation is not only about building new strength. It is about confronting the weaknesses you have avoided for years. These flaws are the hidden cracks in your foundation, the quiet saboteurs that undo your progress when no one is looking. And until you face them without mercy, they will remain the shadows pulling you back into the old self you have sworn to leave behind. Most people avoid this step because it is uncomfortable. It is far easier to distract yourself with work, relationships, or surface-level self-improvement than it is to look directly at the parts of yourself you wish didn't exist. But ignoring them does not make them disappear. In fact, it allows them to grow stronger in the dark. The flaw you refuse to confront will eventually control you. Facing your deepest flaws means calling them by name and admitting their cost. Maybe it's procrastination that has stolen years of your potential. Maybe it's pride that has kept you from learning from others. Maybe it's fear that has made you choose comfort over challenge every single time. This is not about self-hatred. It is about self-awareness at the highest level. You cannot heal what you refuse to acknowledge. Once these flaws are exposed, the work begins. The pie work begins. You strip them down to their roots and ask, where did this come from? Why do I hold on to it? Who would I be without it? Often you'll discover that these flaws began as coping mechanisms, ways to protect yourself from pain in the past. But what once kept you safe is now keeping you small. There is no gentle way to remove them. You must attack them head-on, replacing destructive patterns with new deliberate actions. If laziness is your flaw, you push yourself to work when you least feel like it. If dishonesty is your weakness, you tell the truth even when it costs you. If insecurity rules you, you deliberately put yourself in situations where you must stand without external validation. This process will hurt. Growth always does. But every time you confront a flaw, instead of hiding from it, you take away its power. And as those flaws lose their hold, the new you gains room to breathe, move, and rise. Remember, the old self cannot die if its weaknesses still live within you. Face them now or they will follow you forever. Number 7. Feed on silence and self-reflection. In a world that never stops talking, silence has become rare. And yet, it is one of the most powerful tools for rebuilding yourself. The old you was likely built in noise. The chatter of others' opinions, the constant pull of distractions, the endless hum of obligations and entertainment. In that noise, you could never truly hear your own mind, but the new you will not be forged in chaos. It will be shaped in the quiet. Silence is not emptiness, it is clarity. When the noise fades, thoughts you've been avoiding begin to surface. You start to see patterns in your choices, in your reactions, in your beliefs. You begin to notice the small lies you tell yourself, the hidden fears that still grip you. and the desires you've buried under layers of responsibility and doubt. This is why so many fear silence, because it forces them to face themselves without distraction. But if you can endure it, silence becomes a feast for your mind and soul. Self-reflection is the act of sitting in that silence and turning your focus inward, not to judge yourself harshly, but to understand yourself deeply. You ask questions that cut to the core. Why did I react that way? Why do I still hold on to this memory? What is truly driving my actions? The answers are not always comfortable, but they are always valuable. Self-reflection shows you both your progress and your blind spots, so you can correct your path before you drift too far from it. To feed on silence means to make it a regular part of your life. It means taking deliberate moments each day where you turn off every device, step away from every person, and simply exist with your own mind. At first, it may feel awkward, even unsettling, but over time you will crave it, because in that stillness you begin to see solutions to problems that once felt impossible. You begin to hear the quiet confidence of your new self speaking louder than the echoes of your past. In silence, the mind sharpens. In reflection, the spirit aligns. Together, they form the inner architecture of the person you are becoming. And without them, you risk rebuilding yourself on the same shaky foundation you worked so hard to destroy. So sit in the quiet, listen to your own thoughts, and let that stillness carve you into someone the old you could never have imagined. Number 8. Commit to pain as a teacher. No transformation is painless. In fact, the very process of destroying the old you and building the new you is built on discomfort. Pain will appear in many forms along this journey. Physical strain, emotional wounds, mental exhaustion, even the loneliness of walking the path you understand. Most people see pain as a signal to stop, but if you are to rise beyond who you were, you must see it differently. Pain is not your enemy, it is your teacher. Pain teaches you where your limits are and then dares you to push past them. It strips away illusions, exposing what truly matters and what was never worth your energy. Pain makes you stronger, not simply because you endure it, but because you choose to learn from it. Every failure, every betrayal, every setback has a lesson embedded within it. And when you commit to finding that lesson instead of running from the hurt, you turn every hardship into a stepping stone. The old version of you may have avoided pain at all costs, seeking comfort instead. But comfort is a poor instructor. It lulls you into stagnation. Pain, on the other hand, demands your attention. It forces you to adapt, to change, to grow in ways you would never choose voluntarily. The new you understands this and welcomes pain not as something to be feared, but as proof that you are moving forward. Committing to pain as a teacher requires a shift in perspective. Instead of asking, why is this happening to me? You begin to ask, what is this here to teach me? This single question turns every difficulty into an opportunity. That exhausting workout, it's teaching you endurance. That failed business, it's teaching you strategy and resilience. That broken relationship, it's teaching you self-worth and boundaries. The moment you accept the lesson, the pain begins to lose its power over you. This commitment also frees you from the illusion of a perfect path. There will be struggles no matter which road you choose, so you may as well choose the road that leads to growth. The pain you face in transformation is not the same as the pain of staying the same. One leads to evolution, the other leads to regret. If you must suffer, and you will, then suffer in a way that shapes you into someone unrecognizable to your old self. That is the only pain worth keep. Number 9. Step into the world as the new you. There will come a moment when the work is done. Not because you have reached perfection, but because the old you is truly gone. The weaknesses you once protected have been stripped away. The poisons have been cut out. Your inner story has been rewritten. Your discipline sharpened, your flaws faced, your mind clarified in silence, and your relationship with pain transformed. In that moment, you must make a choice. Will you step into the world as the person you have become? Or will you hide waiting for some imaginary perfect readiness? The truth is, you will never feel fully ready. The new you is forged in action, not wait. Stepping into the world means showing up without apology, no longer explaining or defending your transformation to those who cannot understand it. The old world may still see you as who you used to be. That is their limitation, not yours. You do not owe them the comfort of remaining small. This is the stage where you stop testing your new identity in private and begin living it in public. Your decisions now reflect the strength you've built. You no longer bend to the pressure of old patterns or familiar temptations. You move differently, you speak differently, you choose differently. And with every choice, you send a clear message to yourself and the world. I am no longer who I was, but stepping forward as the new you also means embracing responsibility. You have rebuilt yourself alone. Now you must carry that strength into your relationships, your work, your purpose. You are no longer allowed to play the role of the victim or hide in the shadow of your past. The world does not need another echo of the old. It needs the force you have become. When you step into the world as the new you, there is no going back. The bridges to the past are burned. The familiar comforts are gone. And yet you will not miss them. Because what you have gained is worth infinitely more. You have become the architect of your own life, no longer bound by the chains you once carried. And from this day forward, every step you take is a step away from who you were and a step deeper into the life you were always meant to live. The journey of destroying the old you and rebuilding yourself alone is not for the faint of heart. It demands that you bury the parts of yourself you once clung to for safety, that you walk into the silence most people run from, that you cut away every comfort that is secretly killing you. It asks you to rewrite the very script of your life, to forge discipline where there was once weakness, to stare your flaws in the face without mercy, and to accept pain not as punishment, but as the most honest teacher you will ever have. And when all of this is done, it calls on you to step forward, not as who you were, but as who you have become. This is not a temporary change. This is not a motivational high that fades in a week. This is the death of an entire identity and the birth of a stronger one. It is a path that will isolate you, test you, and break you in ways you cannot predict. But it will also rebuild you into someone unshakable. Someone whose value no longer depends on the opinions of others. Someone who lives with clarity, strength, and purpose. You do not need permission. You do not need approval. The only thing you need is the courage to begin and the determination to see it through when it gets hot. The old you has had its time. Let it rest. From this moment on, every choice you make is a brick in the foundation of the life you deserve. Build it with intention, guard it with discipline, live it without apology. And never not for comfort, not for fear, not for anyone. Return to who you were before. The poison comes in many forms. Sometimes it walks into your life wearing a smile you trust. It might be the friend who always has a reason why your dreams are too big, who plants little seeds of doubt and waters them under the guise of just looking out for you. They are not always malicious. Sometimes they truly believe they're protecting. But protection that keeps you small is not protection. It's a cage. And a cage, no matter how decorated, is still a prison. Sometimes poison shares your blood. It might be the family member who insists you be realistic, which really means don't surpass me. They might fear that if you grow, you'll leave them behind. So they keep you anchored, not with chains, but with guilt. They remind you of all they've done for you. They question why you take risks when you could just stay safe. But what they really mean is, don't change. Because if you do, I'll have to confront the fact that I didn't. Sometimes the poison isn't a person, it's a habit. The things you run to when you're tired, lonely, or overwhelmed. An endless scrolling that eats hours of your life without you noticing. The glass of wine that turns into 3 because you just want to stop feeling for a while. The late night distractions that pull you further from your goals while convincing you that you deserve a... We tell ourselves these little indulgences are harmless, but they're not harmless if they steal your time, weaken your willpower, and numb the voice inside you that's begging you to do better. And sometimes the most dangerous poison is your own voice. Not the one that encourages you, but the one that whispers old, cruel stories you've outgrown. You're not good enough. You're going to fail. You're too late. That voice sounds familiar because it has been with you for years. It is stitched into your identity. And because it feels like part of you, you let it stay even though it has been poisoning your courage every single day. Poison is anything person, habit, thought that weakens your resolve, clouds your clarity, or keeps you tied to the version of yourself you're trying to live. And here's the truth. You cannot heal in the same environment that made you sick. You cannot grow while you are still watering the weeds. And you cannot transform while you are feeding the very things that are killing your ambition. Cutting away the poison is not about hatred, it's about survival. It's about realizing that your life is a garden and every day you're choosing what gets sunlight. You can't let the weeds and the flowers grow together forever. Eventually, one will choke the other. And if you let the poison remain long enough, it will disguise itself as part of the soil until you forget it was ever harmful. The hardest part is that poison often comes wrapped in comfort. It feels safe because it's familiar. You know the pattern, you know the people, you know the habits. You've built routines around them. The thought of removing them feels like tearing down walls you've leaned on for years. But comfort is not always safety. Sometimes comfort is the velvet rope that keeps you trapped in mediocrity. The moment you start cutting away the poison, you will feel the sting. The friend will accuse you of being distant. The family member will say you've changed and they won't mean it as a compliment. The habits will claw at you, calling you back with promises of ease and instant gratification. That voice in your head will scream louder than ever because it knows it's losing control. And this is where most people stop. They take a few steps toward freedom and then retreat because the pain of letting go feels sharper than the pain of staying the same. But here's what you need to know. The pain of removing poison is temporary. The pain of living with it is forever. You are not obligated to keep drinking from a cup just because you've been sipping from it for years. You are not required to let someone stay in your life simply because they've known you the longest. You are not bound to your old self because she feels familiar. You are allowed to choose differently. In fact, you must if you want to live fully. This will take courage. Real courage. Real courage. The kind that doesn't always roar, but sometimes just whispers, "Not anymore." You'll have to set boundaries that make people uncomfortable. You'll have to replace the dopamine hits of destructive habits with the slow, steady satisfaction of discipline. You'll have to talk back to your inner critic, not with rage, but with authority. You don't run this place anymore. And you'll have to remind yourself again and again why you're doing this. Because in the beginning, the benefits won't show up instantly. There will be days when the silence feels heavier than the noise you cut out. There will be nights when you miss the chaos because you don't yet know how to thrive without it. But this is where the shift begins, when you start seeing that discomfort not as a sign you made a mistake, but as proof that you are finally breaking patterns. One day, you'll wake up and realize you can breathe deep. That the people around you actually believe in you instead of secretly hoping you'll fail. That your habits